So, welcome to another lecture. In this lecture, we'll be doing percentages word problems. See, before I start doing the questions, there are few assumptions I'm making. The first assumption is that you have fair amount of knowledge about percentages. I have this playlist. If you are a absolute beginner, my suggestion to you would be, go through these basic lectures first, because these problems, uh, they are a bit difficult, and I won't be covering the basics. That is the first thing that I want to discuss with you. So the other thing that I'm assuming is that you know how to solve the algebraic equations, especially algebraic equations like these. So again and again, there'll be two things that we'll be doing. Before we start the problem, I'll let you know what are the two equations I am talking about. The first equation will be something like this. So for example, 105 upon 100 x is equal to say 210. So this is the first kind of algebraic expression that you'll have to solve. How do we solve this? Basically, we can write this as 105x upon 100 is equal to 210, and therefore x is equal to 210 multiplied by 100 upon 105. So this is the first equation. This is the first type of equation that we will need to solve. So how do I solve this? So whatever be the fraction on this side, on the left hand side, I'll take the reciprocal on this side. So this is the first type of equation that you'll have to solve. The second type of equation that you will have to solve is something like say x plus 5 upon 100x. This is another kind of algebraic equation that you will have to solve. Now, how do we solve this? The easy way which I have seen students prefer is that I write this x as 100x upon 100 plus 5x upon 100. Basically what I'm trying to do is I'm making the denominator of this x as 100, and I can do that by multiplying the numerator and denominator both by 100. So 100 is the denominator, so this will be 100x plus 5x. This will be 105x. So what I'm trying to say is that these are the two kind of equations that you should be very easy while solving, because these are the kind of equations that will be solving again and again. So this is the first kind of equation that you need to understand how to solve this kind of equation. The second is addition of these two algebraic terms. Third thing that I want to tell you is that say for example I have scored 40 marks in my semester, or let us say in term 1. So in 40 marks in term 1. Now let us suppose I score 10% more in term 2. So what will be my score in term 2? See, it will be 40 plus 10% of 40. I hope you are able to understand it. Or let me explain it again. See, in term 2 I have scored for 10% more. So 10% more. So how much more I have scored? So it is 10% of 40. So this will be equal to 4 marks. So I have scored 4 marks more in term 2 than in term 1. But actually, how much would I have scored in term 2? That will be equal to 40 plus 4, and that will be equal to 44. So these are the 2-3 things that you need to understand before we start the word problem. And now let's start. So my speed would be a bit fast. If you have any doubt in any of the questions, please let me know in the comment section. I'll be happy to help you guys out. So first, Smita went to school for 192 days in a year. If her attendance was 75%, find the number of working days of the school in that year. Another thing that I'll suggest is please pause the video, try to do on your own, and only then look at the solution. Otherwise, it won't make any sense. And all the solutions would be there in the as PDF in the comment section. You can download from the comment section. So Smita went to school for 192 days in a year. Her attendance was 75%. Find the total number of the working days of the school in that year. Usually in these kind of questions, whatever is being asked, we assume that to be X. So find the total number of working days of the school in that year. So we will assume that the total number of working days was X. So the total number of working days is X. Now she went for 75% of X because X is the number of working days. So 75% of X is 192. 192 is the number of days she actually went to school. So now what will be the value of X? X will be equal to 192. As I have told you, you have to take a reciprocal of 75 upon 100. That is 100 upon 75, and then you should know how to cancel, and the final answer would be 256 days. I hope this is clear. This is one of the simple questions. So this is a simple question. A fruit seller had some mangoes. After selling 60% of the mangoes, he still has 576 mangoes. How many mangoes did he have originally? So again, in this kind of question, because they are asking for the original, we assume that the original is X. You should be very clear about what you are assuming to be X. So you should be clear that in this case, the original number of mangoes that he had was X. Now he has sold 60%. If he has sold 60%, what would be remaining? The remaining would be 100 minus 60. So that is 40%. Now this 40% of X, 40% of the total is equal to 576. This is 576 because he still has 576 mangoes. So again we solve for X, take the reciprocal of 40 upon 100, and then the total is equal to 14 upon 40. So this is also one of the easy questions. Now let's go to the question number 5, which is a bit difficult, and my suggestion to you would be, when initially you are doing this exercise, please skip this question. This is one of the difficult questions, and I'll go to the question number 6 first. And then I'll come back to question number 5, and you will understand the reason. The population of a town increases every year by 10%. If the present population is 1,80,000, what will be the population of the town after 2 years? So let's try to understand this question first. So let's look at question number 6 first. See, the present population of the town is 1,80,000. It increases by 10% every year. So for example, next year it will increase by 10%. So whatever be the population in this year, again after 1 year it will increase again by 10%. I hope this is making sense. And what are they asking? They are asking for the population of the town after 2 years. So basically they are asking for this value. But we'll go step by step. First we'll calculate the population in the next year. How do we calculate that? See, 1,80,000 is the population of the current year. Then in the next year, it is 10% more than 1,80,000. So I'll have to calculate the value of 10% of 1,80,000, which is 18,000. Then I add this 18,000 to my population of this year. So that is why this next year, after 1 year, the population of the town would be 1,98,000. This is after 1 year. Then it will increase by 10% more. So the population will be 10% of 1,98,000 plus 1,98,000. So when I calculate this, the answer would be 2,17,800. 2,17,800. I'll explain this again. Let me take another simple example. So let's assume that population of the town is 100. There are 100 people in a village. Every year the population increases by 5%. Let us assume. Let's simplify the matter. Every year population increases by 5%. So in the next year, what will be the population? See, the increase in population will be 5% of 100. That will be 5. So 5 people will increase. But this 5 people will be added to the original 100. So that is why this will be 105. Then again in the next year, the population will increase by 5%. So first we'll have to calculate 5% of 105. And then whatever be the answer, we'll have to add that to 105. So 5% of 105, how do I calculate? 5 upon 100 into 105 plus 105. So this will be 520, 5 4 the 5 2 the 1, 4 5 the 20, 4 5 the 20, 4 2 the 8 plus 105. So 110.25. Yeah, 110.25. So population will be 110.25. So the answer is a bit absurd because you can't have 0.25%, but I hope you are getting how to, every year if something is increasing or if every year something is decreasing, how do we find the, increase or decrease? I'm not intentionally using the formulas because, my take is if you use common sense, you don't actually need to use formulas. And now because we have done this question number 6, I hope you are able to understand. Now we'll go to question 5th. Now it will become this bit easier to understand. Hello. So now we'll look at question number 5. The population of a town in the year 2018 was 1,32,300. If the population of the town increases every year by 5%, what was the population of the town in the year 2016? Let's try to understand this question first. So right now we are in 2018 as per the question. Here the population is 1,32,300. This is the population which is given in 2018. Now in this particular town, every year 5% of the population increases. So they are asking you the population which was there in 2016. So there would be some population in 2016. It would increase by 5%. You will get the population in 2017. In 2017, again there will be an increase of 5% and you will get the 1,32,300 population which is given for 2018. I hope the question uh, is making sense to you. You can have a look at the question again. The population of the town in the year 2018 was 1,32,300. If the population of the town increases every year by 5%, what was the population of the town in the year 2016? That is 2 years back they are asking. This is a bit complicated question because there will be some calculation which will be involved, some heavy calculation which will be involved. Let's try to understand. Now, what I have assumed is that the population in 2017 is X. Why am I assuming this? You will understand shortly. So, I have assumed this to be X. Now, this 1,32,300, how do I get this? So, if the population in 2017 is X, if I increase it by 5%, that is 5% into X, and then I add X, which was the population in 2017, I will then get 1,32,300. Hope this is making sense. See, this is the population in 2017 plus increase, and this once I have increased, this becomes 1,32,300. Hope this is making sense. Now I have to add this. This I have written as 100x upon 100, 100x upon 100, and this is 5x upon 100, and this is equal to 1,32,300. Why I have written it like this is because I want to make the denominator. So say hi to Omi. Because I want to make the denominator of x as 100. So that is why I have multiplied the numerator and denominator by 100. Omi. So now I add these. So 100x plus 5x is equal to 105x upon 100 is equal to 1,32,300. Then I have to solve this bit of messy calculation. You can have a look at the PDF. And finally, I'll get the answer as 1,26,000. Now 1,26,000 is the population of the town in 2017. Please remember, whenever you are doing word problems, always remember what is x. In this case, your population in 2017 is x. So this will be equal to 1,26,000. Okay. Now once you have found this to be 1 lakh, let me rub this. Once you have found this to be 1,26,000, 1,26,000, then I'll have to find the population in 2016, and I'll be using the same logic which I have used now. I'll assume that the population in 2016 is y, then the population in 2016 plus increase of 5% on this y. So 5% of y, this is the increase, and this will be equal to 1,26,000, and then we solve for y. I hope this is making sense. See, as I told you before, adding these kind of x's, the algebraic terms, this is a skill that you will have to develop. So y plus 5% of y is equal to 1,26,000, and now in this case the y is the population in 2016. So let population in 2016 be y. So y plus y, 5 upon 100 y is equal to 1,26,000. I have written this y as 100 y upon 100, so that just to make the addition of these two simpler, and then I calculate for y, and y is equal to 1,20,000. So 1,20,000 is the population in 2016. Now there is something that I want to discuss before we move on to the next question. See, let's try to understand this question again. Now that we have the answer, let's look at the question again. So in 2016, the population was 1,20,000. Yeah, it increased by 5%. So 5% of 1,20,000 is 6,000. Yeah. So I'll add 6,000 to 1,20,000. So it will become 1,26,000. Hope this is making sense. So that is why 1,20,000, you increase 5%, it becomes 1,26,000. Now in this 1,26,000, you add 5% again. How will you do that? You'll find the 5% of 1,26,000. You can find this, and when you add 1,26,000 plus this answer, you will get 1,32,300. Hope this is making sense now. So in 2016 the population was 1,20,000. In 2017 it was 1,26,000, and in 2018 it is 1,32,300. So this is how these kind of questions are done, and this is a bit tricky question. And let's move to question number 7. So next question is, in the month of October, 34,000 people visited a museum, but only 32,000 people visited the museum in the month of November. Find decrease percent in the number of visitors. So now, see, whenever you have to find the decrease percent is equal to what is the actual decrease on the original multiplied by 100. So let's take a simple example. So in the term 1, you scored 40 marks, and then in term 2, you scored 35 marks. So there is a decrease of 5. So what is the decrease? The decrease is 5. But this decrease is on what? So this decrease is on term 1, that is 40. So 5 upon 40. Better. So the decrease, now when we have to calculate the decrease percent, it will be the decrease upon what was the original. The original is 40 multiplied by 100. So you will have to calculate this, and whatever be the answer would be the percentage. So for example, in this case, when we are doing this question, what you need to understand is in October it was 34,000. Okay. In October it was 34,000. And then it fell down to 32,300. 32,300. So how much decrease was there? The decrease was 34,000 minus 32,300. So it is 1,700. Now 1,700 divided by the original. Original is 34,000 multiplied by 100. So you calculate this, and this will give you the percentage decrease. Hope this is making sense. This is one of the important concepts. So if there is any doubt, please let me know in the comment section. So this was in October, this is in November, and as I have told you, you will first find the decrease. So the decrease is 1,700. So this upon 34,000, so the decrease is 5%. So this is the final answer. Hope this is clear. Now let's go to question number 8. So Aman's monthly income is 30,000, increase by 9% every year. What would be the monthly income after 2 years? See, this question number 8 and question number 6, they are almost the same. Here the population was increasing. Let me show it to you. Here you see this, here the population was increasing by 10% every year, and in this case the income is increasing. So the logic remains the same. Question number 8, we start with 30,000, it increases by 9% every year. So first we will calculate this, and then we will calculate this. Now how do we calculate this? How do we calculate this? So 9% is the increase, 9% of 30,000. So this would be the increase. So basically 2,700 is the increase. This 2,700 rupees has to be added to 30,000. So this becomes 32,700. So 32,700 will be the next year figure. And then you add 9% more to this. 9% more to this. So 9% of 32,700. 9% of 32,700. You will calculate this, and then you will add it 32,000 to 32,700. You will add this answer. This answer, when you calculate, this will be 2,943. So I add these two, so 35,643. This will be the answer. So what will be his monthly income after 2 years? It will be 35,643. This would be the final answer. Let's go to the next question, question number 9th. Anmol's salary after an increase of 12% is 44,800. What was the salary before the increase? So here you have to see that 44,800 is the salary after increase. They are asking the before salary. So how do we find this? Let me show you the solution. So 44,800 is the salary which is after increase of 12%. So I assume that the original is X. So X is the original plus the increase, which will be 12% multiplied by X would be equal to 44,800. I'll have to calculate for this. So X plus 12, X upon 100 is equal to 44,800. And as we have been discussing before, I write X as 100x upon 100 just to make it easier. So 112x upon 100, and I calculate for X. So this is my final answer. So this will be 40,000. So 40,000 here. Just to check the answer. So 12% of 40,000 is 48. 12% of 40,000 is 4,800. I add to 40,000. My answer is 44,800. So my answer is correct. Let's move to the next question. Question number 10. Value of machine depreciates. Depreciates implies decreases. So whenever they write depreciate, it means it decreases. So by 5%. So it is decreasing by 5%. So for example, population, they are saying it increases. Now this is the example where it is depreciating by 5%. If the present value of the machine is 24,000, what will be the value after 10 years? See, in all these problems, you should understand where exactly you are in the present. So let's look at the solution. See, 24,000 is the value today. After 1 year, it will decrease by 5%. So we'll calculate this figure first. Then once we have the answer, we'll depreciate or decrease it by 5% more, and then we'll have this answer. So we'll do this question in two steps. So I start with 24,000. I decrease 5%. So 5% of 24,000 is 1,200. So this is my value after 1 year. So 22,800. Then depreciate 5% more of 22,800. See, and because this is depreciation, I am decreasing. I am subtracting. So 5% of 22,800 is 1140. So from 22,800, I have to minus 1140. Therefore, there seems to be some calculation error. You can let me know in the comment section. So 8 5s are 40, 5 to the 10, 114, 5 to the 10, 1140. So 22,800 minus 1140, 6,716. Yeah, it would be 21,660. I think this is the correct answer. Till if there is some mistake, please let me know in the comment section. So this is how we do this question. So this will be 21,660. 21,660. Let's move to the next question. Question number 11. So let's look at the next question. There were two candidates A and B contesting for the municipal corporation election in a town. The total number of voters in the town were 80,000. If 90% of the voters had voted and 60% of the votes polled were cast in favor of A, find the number of votes received by B. So in short, see, what is happening is that there is a town in which there are registered voters. The number of registered voters are 80,000. Okay. So 80,000 voters can vote in that town. So they are legally allowed to vote in the town. But not all the voters will vote. Few of the voters would be traveling. They won't be in the mood to vote, or for some whatever reason, 10% of these voters didn't vote. Only 90% of them voted. So first we'll understand what is 90% of 80,000. So 90% of 80,000 are the people who actually voted. So if you calculate 90% of 80,000, it will come to be 72,000. So now our understanding is that out of these, only 72,000, these are the 72,000 people who actually voted. So these 72,000 people have voted. Okay. So 90% have voted. 60% of the votes polled were cast in favor of A. So out of the votes which were voted, 72,000 people who voted, 60% of them voted for A, and of course the rest of the votes would have gone to B. So 40%. have gone to B. I hope this is clear. And find the number of votes received by B. So they are asking us that how many votes went to B. So votes which would have gone to B would be 40% of 72,000. Now see, what you need to understand is that these 40% are of 72,000. They are not 40% of 80,000, because there are candidates, there are voters who didn't even vote. So 40% of 72,000 would be the votes which went to B. So if you calculate this, 40% of 72,000, this will come to be 4 to the 8 and 4 to the 28. 4 to the 8 and 4 to the 28, 1, 2. So 28,800 votes were went to B. So if you want to see the working again, so total were 80,000. Out of 80,000, 90% actually voted. Now, the critical thing that you need to understand is, out of the 90% who actually voted, so which is 72,000, 60% went to A. So, find 60% of 72,000. Do not find 60% of 80,000, not the total, only 72,000. So, voted for A would be 43,200 and voted for B would be, see, another way of looking at this is that from 72,000, voted for A is 43,200, so voted for B would be equal to 28,800. That is one way. Another way of calculating the same is that you find 40% voted for B. Another way is 40% of 72,000. Both the methods are same. So 40% of 72,000, again you calculate, it will come to the same answer, 28,800. So both the ways the answer would be the same. Now let's move to the next question. Let's move to the next question. So question number 12. A number is first increased by 20%, then decreased by 20%. Find the net increase or decrease of the percent. Now in this question, the easy way of doing the question is that you assume the number to be 100. So you assume that the number is 100. This is the easy way. You can do it by the X method also, but then it will be a bit difficult. This is the easy way. So first what you do is you increase by 20%. So 20%. So you increase by 20. 20% of 100 is 20. So the new number is 120. You have increased by 20%. So the new number is 120. Now new number you decrease by 20%. So when you decrease it by 20%, so 20% of 120, that will be, you decrease it by 24. So 120 minus 24 would be equal to 96. So you first increase by 20%, then you decrease by 20%. So basically that I have called it as new number. But finally you get 96. Now your initial number was 100 and now you are at 96. So therefore the decrease in terms of percentage would be decrease is 4. The decrease is on the original number. The original number is 100 into 100. So this will be 4%. So basically there is a net decrease of 4%. Hope this is making sense. Okay. Let's move to the next question. Question number 13. Ajit's salary is 25% more than Alok's salary. Okay. How much percent is Alok's salary less than Ajit's salary? Okay. So in first, again, this is a question which can be done by the X method also, but usually these kind of questions are easier to do with assuming Alok salary should be 100. So this is an easier way in which this question can be done. So you assume that Alok's salary is 100. Now Ajit's salary is 25% more than Alok. So 25% of 100 is 25. So Ajit's salary would be rupees 125. Now Ajit's salary is 125. Alok's salary is 100. The difference in the salary is 25. Now you want to find Alok's salary less than Ajit's salary. By what percent? So the decrease would be as a percentage of Ajit's salary. So 25 upon 125 into 100. So if you calculate this, this will be 20%. So Alok's salary is 20% less than Ajit's salary. See, Ajit's salary is 25% more than Alok's salary. But with respect to Ajit's salary, Alok's salary is 20% less. Hope you are able to understand. Question number 14. Ajit got 10% less marks than Baljit and Kumar got 20% more than Baljit. Okay. If Kumar scored 960, find how much Ajit and Baljit score. So in these kind of questions, you find which is the common. So Baljit is common. So what you will assume is that Baljit is X. Now let's look at the question again. Ajit scored 10% less marks than Baljit. So Ajit got 10% less than Baljit. Kumar got 20% more than Baljit. Kumar got 20% more than Baljit. So if Baljit is X, then Ajit would be 10% less than Ajit is 10% less than Baljit. So first, because we have been given the marks of Kumar, we have been given the marks of Kumar. So we'll have to start with Kumar. Now Kumar is 20% more than Baljit. Now if Baljit is X, then how much is Kumar in terms of X? So he'll be X plus 20% of X, 20% of X. That will be equal to 960. See, Kumar is 20% more than Baljit. So what is the difference? So the difference is 20% of X. That is 20 upon 100X. So this is a difference. Add X to it. So this would be the salary of Kumar. And X plus 20% of X is equal to 960. And like we have done before, you will have to add both of these. This will be equal to 960. And you have to solve X is 800. So what this implies is that Baljit's salary is 800. Baljit's salary is 800. Now we have to find Ajit's salary. Ajit is 10% less than Baljit. So 10% of 800 is 80. So 800 minus 80, which is 720. So Ajit's salary would be 720. I hope this is also clear. Let's move to the next question. Question number 15. Let's look at the next question. Amita spent 30% of her income on house rent and 60% of the rest on other expenses. If she saves 7560 every month, what is her monthly income? Now, this is a bit confusing question, so we'll try to understand this slowly. So, whatever she earns, 30% goes to house rent. So, for example, if this is what she earns, 30% has gone to house rent, 30% has gone to house rent. So, let me assume that the total what her earning is X. So, 30% of X, this is rent. Now, after she has paid rent, what is remaining? So, if I assume her total salary to be X and 30% she has spent on rent, so X minus 30% of X, you calculate this will be 70 upon 100X. So 70 upon 100X, this is the amount that remains. This is the amount that remains after she has paid the rent. Now you need to understand this, because on the basis of this, the rest of the question would be done. Now 60% of the rest on other expenses. So this rest is this 70 upon 100x. Is this 70 upon 100x? So 60% of 70 upon 100x. This is other expenses. This is other expenses. And 40% of 70 upon 100x. This is what she will save. This is what she will save. And this 40% of 70 upon 100x, this is the amount which is equal to 7560. This is equal to 7560. So 40% of 70 upon 100x, this is the amount that will be equal to 7560. And therefore, you'll have to calculate the value of x, and when you calculate, the value of x comes to be 27,000. See, I'll try to explain it again. So let us assume that this is the amount she earns. X is the amount she earns. Now, out of the money that she earns, this 30% is the rent. Fine. So how much money is left? The left is 70%. 70% of x. So this has gone. Forget about this. This has gone. Forget about this. We are remaining with 70% of x. What is 70% of x? So 70% of x is 70 upon 100x. Now just focus on this amount. Just focus on this amount. Just focus on this amount. Let me remove this also. And let me write this 70 upon 100x here. Yeah, so now we'll be focusing only on this 70 upon 100x. Let me change the color. So this is the amount that we will be focusing upon. Because this is amount which is left after she has paid the rent. Now 60% of the rest, that is 60% of this, 60% of this, 60% of this will go to expense. So 60% of 70 upon 100x. This will take care of other expenses. Now once this is done, this is the amount that she will be finally be able to save. This will be the amount that she finally will be able to save. Save. And what is this amount? This amount is 30% of 70 upon 100x. 30% of 70 upon 100x, and this will be equal to 7560. This will be equal to 7560. You calculate this amount comes to be 27,000. So I hope you are able to understand this. This is a tricky question. Let's move to the next question. Okay. So a garden has 60,000 trees, 12% are guava, 15% are orange, 10% are coconut, and rest are mango trees. Find the number of mango trees. This is an easy question. See, guava is 12%. This is one of the easy questions. So guava is 12%, orange is 15%, coconut is 10%. So you add all of these. So this will be 37%. So what is left is mango trees. So mango trees would be 100 minus 37. This would be 63%. Now the number of total trees is 50,000. So if you want the how many mango trees are there, mango trees would be 63% of 50,000. 63% of 50,000, that comes to be 31,500. This is an easy question. You won't face any difficulty. Let's move to the next question. Question number 17. In a class of 35 students, 60% are interested in maths. How many students are not interested in maths? Again, this is one of the easy questions, not much difficult. So math is 60%, so not interested would be 40%. So 40% of 35, that is the total students, would be the students who are not interested. So the answer would be 14. Pretty simple question. Okay. Next. Question number 18. If cricket team won 60% of the matches they played, if they had lost 24 matches, find the total number of matches played by them. What fraction of the matches have they lost? Okay. So they have won 60%. So they would have lost 40%. So let us assume that the total number of matches they played was X. So 40% of X is equal to 24. You solve for x, you find the total number of matches they have played, and then you find the fraction of lost also. So again, an easy question, not very tough. Question number 18. So 1 is 60%, lost is 40%. Total number of matches Vx. So 40% of x is 24. You calculate the value of x. X is 60. So the total number of matches they have played are 60. So now, if you want to find the fraction, I've found the percentage and then convert it to fraction. You can directly convert to fraction also, not an issue. So this will be 24 upon 60. You calculate the value, that will be equal to 2 upon 5. That will be the final answer. Again, a simple question, not very difficult. After spending 85% of the money he had with him, Mr. Sharma had 810 left with him. What was the amount he had originally? So again, what he had originally, let us assume it to be x. Now he has spent 85%, so he would have saved 15%. So 15% of x would be equal to 810. So you solve for x and then you find the value of x. Question number 19. 85% left is 15%, so 50% of x is 810. So calculate the value of x, that will be equal to 5400. These are one of the easy questions. Actually, in the middle there were some tough questions. I think, let us say, from question number 5th to I must say question number 15. These were tough questions. But after that, he has given some easy questions. Actually, easy questions should be given initially, but whatever is the case. Question number 20. 50% traveled by air, 35% by train, 10% by bus, remaining by taxi. So let's note it down. So 50% by air, 35% by train, bus is 10%, taxi. So if you add these 85 plus 10, 95%, so taxi would be 5%. And the total distance that he travels is x. So 5% of x, because he has given the taxi distance, which is 144 kilometer. So this 5 upon 100 x is equal to 144. You calculate for the value of x, which is 2880 kilometers. And then finally you have to find the value of air, train and bus. That can be calculated by the percentage. 50% of 2880, 35% of 2880, 10% of 2880. That is very simple to calculate. And let's move to the next question. Question number 21. 21 is a bit interesting question, and let's start question number 21. So let's look at the next question. In a locality, 65% of the families read Times of India, 75% read Indian Express, 15% read neither. If 30 families read both the newspapers, how many families lived in that locality? Draw a Venn diagram to solve the problem. So, of course, the first thing that you need to understand is what are Venn diagrams. I hope you have done Venn diagrams. So let's look at the problem again. So there would be a locality. So this is a universal set. I'm assuming that you know Venn diagram. So this is a universal set. So 65% of the families read Times of India. Okay. 75% read Indian Express. Okay. 15% read neither. So these are the 15% people who don't take newspapers. If 330 families read both the newspapers, so these are the families which read both the newspapers. The intersection. How many families lived in that locality? So, see, this is how you can solve the problem. Times of India readers are 65%. 65%. Indian Express are 75%. 15% do not read any of these. So the formula that I am using is that, see, if 15% are not readers at all, so the Times of India and the Indian Express readers would be 85%. So because 15% they don't read. So the readers are 85%. So these are the readers who read the newspaper. The total uh, the total people are 100%. So we have done this formula in Venn diagrams that this union, basically this can be written as N union of Times of India and Indian Express. So this is a union. This union is 85%. So this is equal to Times of India readers plus Indian Express readers minus intersection of Times of India and Indian Express readers. See, this is a formula. If you have done Venn diagrams, you would have seen a formula like this. I will write a formula. Usually this formula is written like this is A, this is B. So this is the formula which is written N A union B is equal to N of A plus N of B minus N of A intersection B. Usually this is the formula which is written. Now in our case what is happening is this is Times of India and this is Indian Express. So basically this is N of Times of India union Indian Express is equal to N of Times of India plus N of Indian Express minus N of Times of India intersection Indian Express. Now in another thing which is happening in the newspaper thing is that if 100% are being surveyed, 15% anyways don't read. So this union, A union B, is actually 85% of the total population. And then you put the value of Times of India, Indian Express, and this value. That is how it is done. Another thing that you need to understand is that when we are taking these percentages, this intersection I have assumed to be X. I am calculating for X. So you see X here. And then when I have calculated, I find that the value of X is 55%. I hope you are here till now. So this X is 55%. Now what I do is I assume that the total number of people who are staying here is Y. Total number of people who are staying is Y. So 55% of Y, that is the total, is equal to 330. And therefore I calculate for the value of Y, and Y is 600. So out of 600 people, out of a total of 600 people, now let's look at the question again. I think for people who are not able to understand, now that we have the value of Y, now I'll be able to, let me try to explain the question again. So there's a locality of 600 people. 15% don't read any newspaper. So 15% of 60, 15% of 600 is 90. So 90 people don't read at all. The number of readers are 600 minus 90. That is 500. That is 510. Now these are 510 people who read some newspaper. Now out of these, 330 read both. So out of 510, 330 8 1 330 read both the papers. 330 read both the papers. These 180 are the readers who read either Times of India, they would be here, or Indian Express. These 180 people, they just read one newspaper. 330 read both the newspapers. And another thing that you can try to do is, another interesting thing that you can try to do is, these Times of India readers, they are 65%. The Indian Express people, they are 75%. 65% of total, that is 600. So you can calculate these also. So finally, the answer that we are looking, this part is just to explain what is happening. So finally, what we are looking for is the total number of people in the locality is 600. And this 330 is 330 upon 600. If you calculate this, this would be into 100. This would be 55%. So that is why I've written here 55%. These 55% of the people are the people who read both the papers. Times of India readers are 65%. So 65% minus this 55% is 10%. These 10% are exclusive Times of India newspapers. 55 plus 20 is 75. These 20% are exclusively Indian Express people. And the non-readers are 50. And if you do the total, 10 plus 55 plus 20 plus 15, the total will be 100%. So you do this 55 plus 15 is 5, 6, 7, 90 plus 10, 100 is 100%. This is just to explain. Finally, the answer is 600. So I hope this is useful for you and you learned something. If there is any doubt, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer your comments. So thanks for watching.